Good morning, everyone. We're here with another morning call of Skill for Life from I Am Mastermind Studio. I'm here with Lori. Lori's been with us and working with us a year and a half.
A
little more year and a half.
Yeah.
And before I start, Lori, you want to explain what are these calls about? Skill for Life. And what have you learned?
The Scaling for Life is pretty much just teaching you information that's going to make you, it's creating a greater knowledge of pretty much understanding why you're getting the results that you're getting and how to change that and how to master your mind and learning how to get the results that you want to by just switching or changing the programs that you pretty much have been brought up to believe as a kid. You know, a lot of it's our environment, conditioning, surroundings, stuff like that, our genetics, you know, but a lot of it is really understanding we really have the power and the control. And just the classes are pretty much to create that greater awareness and that knowledge.
When we talk about, that's great, when we talk about programming, do you want to explain what does that mean if somebody's the first time seeing this, when they hear your program, what does that mean?
Program is the beliefs that you pretty much have established that have been told to you that, you know, you create those beliefs on how you were brought up, things that were said to you, how you learned, the things that were being done around you, you're taking that in. And that is part of your programming. That is part of your cells of recognition and knowing from there, this is what you're going to do is from that programming.
Yeah, basically you're being conditioned.
Yes.
You've been conditioned through environment, and you were very, you accepted and everything you heard and you seen, and everything that you heard and seen, you start storing it in your mind, and you start looking at the world from that view.
Yeah. And believing from that.
Yeah. And that can be changed anytime, right?
Yeah, it really can. I mean, there's some, you know, people that have been brought up, you know, believing that they're not smart enough or are not capable of because it was something that was said to them. Or sometimes it's something they would have created for themselves because of maybe what one person would have said to them. And it just had such an emotional impact that they just believed it was what that person would have said if it was something negative or positive. Sometimes it creates, it just takes one person to create a great shift in somebody's belief system. Yeah. You know, to find that within themselves, you know, it just takes that one person. It brings to mind a teacher for myself. I had two separate teachers. One would make me believe when it came to math that I just was not smart. Yeah. You know, and I grew up pretty much believing that when it came to algebra, I just couldn't understand it.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying, I want to make sure everybody understands what we're saying is it's not only affecting how we think and what we think is affecting our confidence as well of how we see ourselves.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And then that happens through birth to right now.
Yeah.
And anything that has happened to us, it starts creating an image in our mind about ourselves and what we're capable of doing. Yeah. And who we are, basically. Okay.
And sometimes it's also seeing things from, okay, for example, that math teacher. It was the way she taught that I couldn't understand, but it didn't mean she was a bad teacher. It just wasn't the way I learned. I go into college only to take a more complicated type of algebra, and the teacher made it so simple that it was effortless for me. So it was just a lot of the approach of what she took and just made it so where I could believe that, oh my gosh, this is this. I realized I was mentally defeating myself, you know, when I was in high school, you know, because I just thought this, I don't understand it, you know. So, and it was just two different approaches from two different people. One was mentally breaking me and defeating me, and the other one had just brought out the best in me. So sometimes it's being aware of maybe you may not be seeing what you want to be seeing at that given time. It doesn't mean you're not capable of learning, or you're not capable of comprehending or getting the results you want. Sometimes it's just looking in a different a different direction.
So if you want to explain to someone, and if you want to give an advice to someone after understanding this information and reading, what would you tell them?
I guess for me, I have people that sit in my chair as a hairstylist, and I'll start, a lot of times it's just engaging with them and seeing what vibration they're on. Sometimes if it's something that I can tell, maybe they're thinking negatively or they're very stressed out, it's to just give information to them to bring a greater awareness.
Yeah.
If I feel like maybe I'm not connecting to them, sometimes it's just telling them for myself what I'm taking from that, what I'm learning from that, and the growth that I have seen for myself that has created those mental shifts in me that has made me be more aware and have a greater awareness of how I can do better.
Yeah. So basically, you have a choice.
Yeah.
You understood you have a choice. That happens to me as well. And I started experiencing that I didn't know that I have a choice and I can become a completely different person. And to me, that was amazing, because I always had this idea we can't change who we are. And, this is where I came from, this is my family, this is, our social level, this is what degree I have, this is how much I can do. There's always limitation of what I'm able to do, and I didn't know that I can choose and select what I want to be. And when I started understanding who I am, and that we have the infinite potential, and understand the mind and understand the law of nature, that changed the game. Yeah. And I understanding that impacted me so hard that I decided to become a coach, actually, and teach this information, because in essence, you start understanding that we're all the same. We might be different, and we might have a different, gender, or different physique, or different look, but ultimately we're the same. We have the same power, and if I could do it, anybody else can do it. And it's just all matter of, do I really want it? Yeah. At that point when I start learning this, because I knew this is going to help me, and this is going to be something that's going to help me to achieve my goal and to become a better person, I didn't hesitate at all. And I really start learning and studying, and it's amazing that something like this exists, and a lot of people don't even know, and they don't even know it's an option.
Yeah. Well, and it's really seeing it from not really learning. I think sometimes we're so programmed to think you have to do things this way. You're told this is how we do it. This is how you learn. And really to just be very aware, it's just deciding. Yeah. You're that decision maker. Yeah. It doesn't have to be somebody else making those decisions for you. You have the power to decide for yourself what you really want. And I think sometimes people don't ever stop to see it from that perception of, I can decide. It doesn't have to be what I've been told as a kid that it was. I can always rewrite that and decide if I want different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like the other day we were talking about, I said, I can open this book today and tomorrow is a blank page, and we can write what we want, and we can decide. And by writing what we want and decide what we want is how you start building your life by design. And it's amazing, and it feels really good, very fulfilling when you can write where you want to go and what you want to experience. Yeah. And again, I didn't know that was an option. And when I started knowing, I couldn't stop studying and learning more about myself. And today we're going to go talk about a little bit of playing one of the Bob's video. Talking about he had a back in '80 he had a conference, and that conference it's amazing 3-day conference, and I have it here. I'm going to play it, and I want everybody here on Facebook. I believe we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram. I want everybody taking notes, and we're going to discuss what Bob is talking about, and start talking about what he's saying, and maybe give some example to illustrate this a little bit better, and see how we can learn a little bit more today. Zach, I'm going to go play this video on my screen, and of it. I'm going to pause it as we're going.
Let's start to think. Here we're talking about this power. We are not only a physical expression of that power, we're an instrument of that power, because that power literally flows to and through us. Now, as it flows into our consciousness, it just is. Just is. All science and all theology tells you energy is, God is neither created nor destroyed, is the cause and effect of itself, is 100% evenly present in all places at all times, is all-knowing, is all-powerful. You see, the knowledge that got us into the air has always been here. We didn't just make something out of nothing. And it's all done just through passing something through the medium of the molecule, the no thing. We've always been able to do that. We've just become aware of how to do it. See, a person that's earning $25,000 a year, they're not earning $25,000 a year because they want 25 a year. They're earning 25 a year because they're not aware of how to earn 50. Any person in this room can become financially independent. There's no trick to it. This afternoon we're going to talk about that a little bit. As this power flows in, it's neither negative or positive. John talked about laws earlier this morning. He was talking about the action-reaction being equal and opposite. As you sow, so shall you reap. Energy always returns to its source of origination. Well, you know, there's other laws. That's not the only law. There are 7 laws. Dr. Werner von Braun one time pointed out that the natural laws of this universe are so precise that you and I don't have any difficulty today building a spaceship. We can send a person to the moon, and we can literally time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. He also said these laws must have been set by someone. Now, the law that I'm referring to here is not the law of cause and effect or sowing and reaping. It's the law of polarity or the law of opposites. You see, Jen, there's a front to the book and there's a back to the book. There's a right and a left to the book. And what's right to me is left to you. There's a top and a bottom to the book. There's an inside and an outside to the book. And you couldn't have one without the other. If I started to slice the right side off this book, when I've taken the last slice for the right side off, I've also gotten rid of the left. You couldn't possibly have one without the other. Nothing complicated about that. Pretty simple idea, but not understood by many people. We use these 2 symbols to illustrate the law of opposites. And you know, as this power flows into us, we can make out of it anything we choose. You can sit there, this is the intellectual mind, activate your higher faculties. I'm not talking here about your sensory factors, I'm talking about your higher faculties. You can exercise them, and you can literally create the start of anything because you are creative. You are a creative being. Do you know it's these faculties that separate you from your pets? Archibald MacLeish had a character stand up in one of his plays. It's called The Secret of Freedom. He had this character stand up. It was a Pulitzer Prize-winning play, too. He had a character stand up and say, the only thing about a man that is a man is his mind. Everything else you can find in a pig or a horse. He was right. You've got marvelous faculties. There is only one source of supply. Every great teacher all down through history for the last 6,000 years in recorded history has told us that if we had our ear to the ground, we'd get the message. This is where everything starts. We build the picture in our mind. Do you know what our problem is? When we build that kind of a picture, we instantly say we can't do it if it's far beyond the results that we're getting. You wouldn't be able to get the picture if you couldn't do it. You can do anything you want. Anything you want.
I'm going to a little bit discuss this before we go further. And when Bob is talking about you can't have any ideas and build any images in your mind, but what's holding us back when we build an image and taking action up on it, when we have a vision? Let's say the day you decide to start your own business, right? What was holding you back from doing that? What was holding you back to taking action? And what happened after that you start taking action?
Well, I can think of two things because pretty much it's just not really going there, not going to set a goal. I never thought of doing on a day-to-day basis, okay, I've set this goal and that's what I'm working towards. I wasn't thinking in that way, but I think some of that, we get into this habitual, we've got a job, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're going to do on a day-to-day basis, even if it's something we really aren't deciding we want. We feel like that's what we fell into is this job, this field, and the income that's coming with that.
And your result,
and the
current
results,
result, and then past what has happened to you. So immediately when we come up with this idea, this brilliant idea, and this happens to many individuals that they may not be aware of it, what happens, you build this marvelous image in your conscious mind, and you said, this is what I want. And immediately you start thinking about, you start looking at with your five senses, you start looking at your reality, and you start looking at your resources and assistant and the time, and you immediately evaluate yourself, looking at your past and experience, see if you can do it. And if you haven't done it before, and if you don't see that capability within, guess what? You're not going to take steps.
Your beliefs are going to go back to dictating whether you're going to.
Exactly. If you don't know the how, most of us, and this is very common, when we talk about something or a new idea, or you want to do something, you know what first thing we ask ourselves, or someone's going to ask us?
How can you do that?
How can you do that? Do you have experience? You've never done this. Think about this. Everything, if you start looking at every, just look at just my life. Everything I've done, maybe in different businesses we have, maybe one of them I had a little bit of experience. The rest, I had no idea. But when I start taking action toward that, start say, I'll find out. Have you heard people say, I don't know, but I'll find out? I find out.
Or I'll go ask.
I'll ask. You start finding people, places, and plots, and resources, and money, and everything that you want to start fulfilling that desire. You don't need the money until you decide this is what you want. When you decide, I'm sure everyone read, a lot of people know this famous book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. In his book says, when you make a decision, every time you make a decision, you'll find the resources, money, time,
people,
assistant, everything that you need, but you got to be persistent. That's what Bob mentioning. He's saying that we always have this idea, but we let our current results, what we've done, determine whether we can do that or not. And if you start using our higher faculties, he's going to explain a little bit more, and I'm going to touch lightly on it. Our higher faculties, that separate us from other form of life on the planet, that we can start build an image and bring that to life. Basically, what he's saying is we're transformers. any thoughts that we have, we can start thinking about it and finding a way to bring that into reality.
Yeah.
Was there any other note that you took?
Just the knowing that you've always had the ability. It's just the power's always been there. It's just realizing to use that power.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that power is,
A lot of times I feel like people don't feel like it's in them. They look outside of themselves
Yeah.
to think, okay, well, I don't think I can, but I think that person can.
Yeah.
And so it's seeing them not from within,
Yeah.
not seeing that they are very capable if they just make a decision and just be more persistent about achieving that.
when we talk about that power, let's talk about it a little bit more. We're talking about a hidden power, right? Something that we're always, it's with us 24/7, right? And that's the power that controls our breathing, controls our heart rate, control our blood circulation, digest our food. We don't think about any of that, right? It happens automatically,
Yeah.
right? So this creative power is energy and it just is.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? It just is. Bob mentioned it.
It's part of what we don't really have to analyze. Okay, am I more powerful than that person? Everybody just has the equal amount of power.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you're going to create, what form you're going to give it.
That's right. Exactly. What are you going to give it, negative or positive?
Yeah, because it takes just as much energy to go to the negative as it does positive.
You determine it's going to be negative or positive according to the way you think.
Yeah.
Right? So this power, we decide whether this is something that does serve us, does help us to get where we want to get and start playing with that idea. But a lot of times, what people do is they mostly think about what they don't want, which is negative thoughts, right? So when we're talking about this creative power that is going through us, what do we do with it? We create more
Of what we don't want.
what we don't want. Yeah. And when you start understanding, why would you start thinking about things that you don't want?
Well, and you can stop and think of somebody's, their attitude. If they're very pessimistic and just constantly finding fault and how it's not going to work for them, we can pretty much physically see that and think, well, yeah, they're just that kind of a person. That's where they're attracting to them. But not really see it from in a creative type state. If you really want to create what you want, it's just going to those positive thoughts that's going to help to create that. We see it more in just our personality instead of in a creative state. So it's the same laws apply. They apply in everything, whether it's in business, in personality, in relationships, in anything. It's what you're going to apply those laws to, because if there's an up, there's a down, so sometimes people only see it from well, that's their personality. That's the way they always think. But it's the same thing. The results are in every aspect of their life. It's getting the same results.
Right. The same way they're thinking, the same way they're getting results.
Yeah.
So we can't change our results until we change who we are.
Yeah.
Who we are is the data, the information, the images, the ideas that we have that makes us who we are. And that's according to that, we evaluate ourselves, what we're able to do. We react to certain things. We decide, we have certain behavior and make certain decisions, and that determines our results.
Yeah.
So all that goes back to what? Goes back to the ideas that we have about ourselves.
The self-image we're
The
holding.
self-image we're holding and the beliefs that we have.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to make a shift, where they need to go when we're talking about working on you, they need to go in their subconscious
Yeah,
mind,
their belief system.
their belief system. Because through the law of cause and effect, Ralph Emerson, he says the laws are laws of cause and effect. And when you start working on the cause, effect will take care of themselves. Because through the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, you're always transforming the cause into effect. So when you start taking out the cause, effect will take care of themselves because you're perpetuating all the time, right? So when that goes back to Neville Goddard book, Effortless Way. He's saying from the time that you decide what you want and the time that you manifest it in your life, what do you need to do? He says nothing, but that nothing doesn't mean nothing. Don't do anything. Meaning all you got to do is start having a higher concept of yourself, higher concept of your being. Mm-hmm. Therefore, through law, you're always perpetuating. You're going to perpetuate something new into reality.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that's going to be, you're holding it through faith that you know that assumption of what you're wanting is going to be fulfilled. Yeah. You know it's coming to you. It's just taking the action steps that's going to get you there. Because it's about taking those action steps. You just can't think about it and it's going to come to you without you taking any action.
Yeah, but it all has to happen first mentally.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing physical. Physical is just a movement of what we're thinking.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to play this video, and we're going to have a little bit more discussion. As every individual that are watching us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, I want you guys to take notes. And if you have any comments, Zach is going to let us know. And if you have any question after this call, you guys can always directly contact us at immastermind.com or through our social media, and we're happy to answer your questions and help you to build a better self-image and help you to design your life consciously. I'm going to continue playing this video.
Now, hooked up to your conscious mind, like little antennae, you have sensory factors. You can hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. And you know that's where most people get all their information, through their sensory factors? They watch a TV, read a newspaper, listen to the radio, overhear conversations, and you know what most people are doing? They're talking about why something can't be done. And we're listening to it. You know, for 26 years, that's the only way I got my direction. I just did whatever the other guys were doing. I remember when I was 17, they said, we're joining the Navy. Are you coming? Sure. I got 5 years. I didn't even like it. I'd never even seen a boat, let alone a ship. Why did I do it? Well, the other guys were doing it. Just wherever they go, you know, like sort of in lockstep type fashion, we go through our life. The average person tiptoes through life hoping they make it safely to death. What a dumb game. If you're going to let what you do be based upon what you hear, you better make certain the people that are giving you the advice are getting phenomenal results, or you're going to go where they're going. And I can be an authority on this. I am an authority on it. I spent 27 years doing it every waking hour. I know where they're going to lead you. Around in a circle, because that's where they're going. When an idea comes into your mind, you want to ask yourself this question. Don't ask whether it's wrong or whether it's right. See, Jan was right. There was something on the book. So was I right. There was nothing on the book. That's not the question. Do you know what the question is? Will that idea take me from where I am and move me in the direction of the star that I'm shooting at? Will it help me reach my goal? If it won't, I guarantee you it's going to take you in the other direction, because you're not going to stay where you are. That is certain. That comfort zone is a dangerous place to be. It's like Riggs said, it may be comfortable, but it's a bad spot. You have the ability, when someone gives you a suggestion that takes you in a direction other than where you want to go, you have the ability to consciously and mentally just reject that idea. And then you can go ahead and originate whatever idea you want. Now, as long as an idea is in your conscious mind, it'll have absolutely no effect on your physical body or what you're doing. No effect at all. It's when you take that idea and you turn it over to this part of our mind we refer to as the subconscious. It could be called universal intelligence. It's called by many different names. Superconscious. There's about 150 some names you can put on here. The early Greeks referred to this part of our personality as the heart. You see, they pointed out that as you think in your heart, so are you. Do you know that side of your personality has no ability to reject an idea? Absolutely none. Whatever idea comes in and goes in here instantly is manifest in that physical body of yours. Now, you get ideas from outside, we instantly let them come in here and we act on them. I want you to take your hand and hold it up like that for a moment. Take your hand and hold it up like that. Now, put it here in your chin for a second. Will you do that? Where's your chin? If I said, follow me, I'll show you how to win. Are you just going to follow me? Where are you going to ask yourself? Does that person know what he's talking about? Does she know where she's going? Why would you go for someone for financial advice that's flat broke? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Why would you go to a sick doctor to find out how to get healthy? Do you want to know why we do it? We're in the habit of doing it. And you know what a habit is? A habit is something you do without giving it any conscious thought. And you know that most people live by habit. They don't think. Bell Van de Waal used to point out if most people said what they were thinking, they'd probably be speechless. The late and great Dr. McFarland from down in Kentucky said 2% of the people think, 3% of the people think they think, and he said 95% of the people would rather die than think.
What do you think, Lori? There's a lot of
information.
Yeah.
I mean, and it makes you really stop and think
Yeah.
how people really aren't thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the average, probably 95, 97%.
Yeah.
It's just habitually doing day for day the same things without really thinking.
Yeah. So where do we get most of our information?
Our surroundings.
Yeah, through our senses,
Yeah.
hearing and what we see. And hearing what we see is through media, through our neighbors, conversation at the barbecue with neighbors, right? And at work, at the different events, and just when you start paying attention, when you go to different events, you start paying attention to people, what they talk about, you start, without not being aware of, you become deductive, and you start taking that information if you're not aware. And according to that information, whether it's about economy, whether it's about the job, whether about the environment, whether about something's happening in the world, according to that, you start making decision and you start running your life. What does that mean? That means you're not in control of your life. You're moving according what's happening in the reality. So you're all over the place according to what's happening outside of you.
Yeah.
And you're never going to take responsibility for your life. An individual that wants to create their life, their conscious designer, what they do is they start working from inside outside, not from outside inside. They start determining what they want, start shutting down all the noise outside, and they're going to focus on themselves, focus on working on themselves, and investing in themselves to start creating life they want, regardless of what's going outside. A lot of people come talk to me about the war, about economy, about this, about... I said, hey guys, you live in your own world. You can't... When we're talking about economy, we have our own economy. If we start thinking about what everybody else say about economy, especially right now, just think about it. Everybody's talking about economy, how there's inflation, this and that and that. And according to that, they start moving and they start carrying a fear. But they don't know that they have their own economy.
Yeah. And it's, I was reading a book, I'm still reading, But he's talking about all the distractions, all the digital devices that we have that create so much distractions.
Yeah.
And the one thing that he kept bringing up was the fact that it's created such a mental laziness because you're just being entertained, and starts to ask, really, I can think back when I was younger and how many phone numbers I could remember right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Right now, I can think of maybe 3 or 4 that I would know because you're so dependent on that device that you don't even realize you're mentally not even exercising your mind to remember and to think about what you're doing because you depend on that device to just remember it for you. You just push the button and it's there.
Yeah.
And really to think of that's how we kind of do things on a day-to-day basis when we're really not deciding.
Yeah.
But even that, the phone has learned just what you're scrolling through, then it's going to start remembering and throwing that information to you on a constant basis of what it already knows, your history of what you're researching. So it's without you even thinking about it, it's bringing those images to you. So what are you feeding yourself with? Is those constant images, and you're really not deciding.
And that exactly is designed the way we operate.
Yeah.
Because think about this. When you start thinking about something that you want and you're occupied by that image, what are the ideas that come to you?
Everything about that image.
Right? Or what would you start seeing in your reality?
Yeah.
Things that you're preoccupied by, right? You're occupied with those images. That phone is designed exactly, and I'm not saying exactly, but a lot of the things is designed based off of the mind.
Yeah.
That's why when you search something, it start auto-suggesting things according to what you search. So start thinking about that. If they're same thing, right? When you start thinking about tapping into ether, let's say ether is internet, that's where it came from. Internet, start Googling and start like searching what is it that you want. And when you start searching that,
it's going to start bringing you the images that you're looking for.
Start bringing those images and things to support you. Basically, that phone, it's supporting you to find what you want. That's how the internet works as well. It's supporting you, is auto-suggesting things that you search and you want. That means that you're interested in those things. So everything, all things are possible. Anything that we can think of and we want, that's what just Bob's saying. When we start impressing it through space repetition, through auto-suggestion, we start suggesting it to our subconscious mind, it has to come to a form. Anything that goes in our subconscious mind, we have to see it in our reality.
We're creators.
Right now, exactly. Right now, every individual, look at their life. Look at their physics. Look at their reality. From their car, clothing, their house furniture, the amount of money they make. Everything about them is not there by accident. It's the ideas that they have adopted in their subconscious mind. That's what they have in there. Basically, if we want to say it in a different way, we live in our subconscious mind. So our reality is scenery of our subconscious mind. So anything that we want, all we got to do, that's why writing is very important, to start bringing that into form is to start impressing our subconscious mind and start, just like Bob said, in emotional mind, basically. Get emotional about it and start seeing it and start believing and start taking action. However, everything that we said, we can say, imagine, we can impress in our subconscious mind, but there's very important detail here, which is huge. Unless we don't take action toward that, it's not going to come to a form.
Yeah.
Because that energy has to go through our body. We can all day, it's just like, I give an example to this other guy who was talking about this information, and he was interested, and he was saying, hey, I build a lot of images, and I'm doing this, and I do a lot of meditation, but why is it not working for me? I said, what are you doing about it? He goes, well, I'm building images, great images, and I'm meditating. I said, no, I'm asking, what are you doing about it? He says, well, I said, you're not understanding what I'm saying. You got to take action toward the image that you're seeing. It's just like somebody says, if you're right now, we're in where? Lubbock, right? Lubbock, Texas. If we want to go to New York, right, we need to get out of Lubbock physically, get on an airplane, go to where? New York, to see New York, right?
Yeah, but you have to plan the flight, where you're going to go. You map it out. You map it out.
Yeah, you have to take action to move and
Yeah.
go see something new.
Yeah.
You can't be same. I can be here all day long thinking about New York and everything about New York. But am I going to be in New York? No, until I start taking action and planning for it.
Yeah.
So that's a very, and why we don't take action and plan for it? Because we don't want to live our comfort zone.
Yeah.
This is our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And to us, that goes back to how we're genetically programmed. To us, when we want to leave our comfort zone where we're comfortable, it's just like our ancestors, they want to leave the cave and go discover more of something new in the nature. What they did, they want to go out and they want to try a new route. They were scared because they didn't know what's coming and what predator might attack them, right? So they always stay in this, in the their environment that was safe or comfort zone, and they're always worried about if we're going out, what can happen. So many of them stayed. The one were winners and the one were experiencing different things were the one were willing to step out of their comfort
And
zone.
take those risks.
Take those risks.
Yeah.
That's how we are doing. We are right now in our life today. If somebody wants to experience something new, the only way they're going to experience something new is move out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Not only that, just look at all the, we call them successful people in our society. If you look at them, they're every day they're exercising, leaving their comfort zone. Every day they work with the challenges. Every day they're going somewhere new. And they're always working toward their vision, always.
Yeah.
And that's how you start becoming, that's what growth comes in, and that's when you start becoming bigger and better person. Otherwise, if you're the same person you were yesterday, you have the same thoughts, you have the same behavior, and you have the same action. Nothing has changed in your life. That's why it's very important when we start thinking about something we want, we'll start impressing our subconscious mind and get emotion involved with it, we gotta take action.
Yeah.
Just like Nike says, just do it.
Do it.
Express the greatness.
And a lot of times it's really not as hard as we in our mind are already telling ourselves that it is. It's just mentally we're telling ourselves it's somewhere we really haven't gone and I'm afraid to go there.
Yeah.
And really once you're there, you realize it wasn't as hard as you were thinking it was.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes it's just being okay with the uncomfortable mentally that, okay, it's not going to be as bad as I'm thinking. You know, sometimes it's just what we don't know. So that's what makes it scary. Is we don't
That's
know
when you need a coach or you need a support, someone who can help you to see it and who can help you push you forward, to give you, to create that courage to tell you, hey, it's okay. I've been there, you can too. So a lot of times when we want to do something, we need to look and see who has been where we want to go. And when we look at them and we ask them, they can exactly tell us what they did. And all we got to do, just do what they told us to do.
Yeah.
That's the thinking, right? When we say we're thinking, think about this. When we're talking about this subconscious mind and all the ideas that Bob just said, it said 2% of people are thinking. 1%, what is it? He says 2% they're thinking, 3% are think they're thinking, and 95% of, you know,
Are just doing.
they're just not thinking, right? So when we're talking about thinking, we're saying we're tapping into this I want to make sure everybody understand. When we talk about thinking, we're not talking about tapping into this subconscious mind information we already have. That's mental activity. This is what we already know. That's something that we already know. We're talking about thinking. We're talking about using our higher faculties. Imagination, reasoning, will. And when we're saying thinking, when I said I want to become like that person, I got to see what that person did and just copy that. Because if I start thinking, well, my opinion, I'm going to more or less do what I know how to do. Unless my opinion becomes that person's opinion where I want to become. So when I change my mind toward him and I see how he thinks, what he does, how he feels, what are his strategy, what I need to do, and instead of taking me 10 years to get where he's at, it's going to take me 1 year or 2 years. A lot of people don't do that. They said, hey, I want to become that person, but my opinion is, well, at that point, your opinion doesn't matter. You got to follow that person and see what they did.
Yeah.
To start changing your reality, changing the way you do things. And that's very, very, very important for us. What creates our life is what we do.
Yeah.
And what we do is according to the thinking.
thinking.
Yeah. And that's very important.
Yeah.
What else? We have a few more minutes. Zach, do we have any comments or questions that we can answer? We have 6 minutes before. Okay. Okay. I'm going to continue to play the video for a few more minutes, and I want everyone take notes. And when you're taking notes in these classes we discuss, we're taking notes. We need to go back and read those notes and think about, how am I applying this, what I'm learning? Because what we're learning, if we're not applying it, is just knowing. Knowing is not going to help us. We got to think, know, and do. If we're not doing, we're not changing anything. So I always think to myself, what I'm learning, how am I making that part of me? How can I become one with what I'm learning? Because a lot of times we think that outside of ourselves. And when we think it outside of ourselves, we think, oh, this is just this information. It's cool. It makes me feel good sometimes in the morning, and this, and that's the wrong way of thinking. I always think this information is about me, and I'm learning about me, and I'm investing in me. How is it affecting the way I'm thinking? Am I aware? Am I thinking what I'm thinking about? And if you keep asking yourself, you start catching yourself and you start correcting yourself from old way of thinking. And you start implementing the new way of thinking of what you're learning. But if you're studying in the morning, we're studying this every day, 6 to 7, and Saturdays. You're studying and you say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go get, we finish this reading and we go back to our day and we get busy during the day. We literally forget what we studied because we thought we make a lot of mistakes. We think this is like school. When we go to school, we had our courses or classes, and we memorize it, we took a test, we pass, and we're done. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
And the way this works is you ought to be able to learn it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and start using it. It start becoming part of you. That doing is going to change your results.
And it's the becoming.
Yeah. Yeah, I said it the other day. You know, on the classes, I was saying, hey, you guys need to repeat, through repetition, we learn. And when we start repeating, we start impressing that idea, what we're learning, into our subconscious mind, and that becomes part of us. And it has to come to form, because automatically we're going to do what we're programmed to do, right? And this become part of our programming, new program, right? Mm-hmm. And this individual thoughts, what I'm saying is, all you got to do, just repeat this information. But when you start even repeating it without that intention that I'm going to use it, it's not going to help you. Mm-hmm. It all goes back to, how am I every second thinking and using the laws? And am I thinking from my imagination or from my paradigms, limitation? When we're talking about imagination, you never ask yourself, am I able? Ever. When you use your imagination, you ask yourself, do I want this? Mm-hmm. That's it. When the answer is yes, when you decide yes, you move into this new place, new state, that there's a support in that new state. It's all mental. And that state, through people, places, and thoughts, when you rest in that state, everything comes to help you to fulfill what you want. Mm-hmm. Again, this is this whole process of, what is it that I want, not what I can't. I promise you, ask people what they want, they're going to go, even what they want, they're going to go tell you what they think they can't do. And there's no inspiration in that.
Yeah. Well, and they're only going by their past experience or their programming. Mm-hmm. Those limited beliefs, and it's very limited instead of thinking unlimited beliefs. So creating the you that you want to become.
Yeah, and only way you would understand that is by understanding your mechanism. You know, I'm so fascinated with who we are. We have so much. We're so advanced. We have so much power, so much infinite potential that most of us barely use it. The other day, this guy asked me, what do you mean by that? What does that mean, we have so much infinite potential when we use it? I said, well, if I want to break it down to a simple term, it's like, this is latest phone, right? Version. Mm-hmm. How many people that has so much capability, right? How many people you know they have this phone, but they only use it for calling people or answering the calls when they receive a call?
Yeah.
How many? A lot. They don't use all this apps, capabilities that they can utilize. That's how we are. We have so much capabilities, we're not using it. Because nobody really gave us the manual book of how to use your higher faculties. No one did. And everything we learn it from where?
Programming.
Our environment. And we think, oh, that's who we are, and that's what we're able to do. Well, I think we're out of time. I want to thank everyone who were with us this morning. I want to thank Lori and coming here. And we here in I Mastermind are the reason the reason we have this institute of mind, and the mission is to bring consciousness and help the individual and help them to understand who they are, and they can experience a life that they desire. We have these programs Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 a.m. Central Time. Whether you can be here in person, we're here in Lubbock, Texas, or you can hop on a Zoom call. And we have a business matrix on Saturdays that it's this information in deeper level, deeper understanding that helps individuals who are in a business, who are the managers, who are leaders, that they want to get a better result. We help them in that program. And you can contact us through our social media. My social media, I am Mastermind social media, or Abraham Kranz's social media. We're here to help you. I'm really grateful this morning I could serve, and I could maybe through my teaching, I could help individual to have a better understanding that the power they have within. I want to thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lori, and have a wonderful day. The world is yours. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Thank you.